Association for the Advancement of Innovative Approaches to Global Challenges. Today's side event has the title Resource Mobilization and Innovation for Youth Engagement in Agenda 2030. And we will present in this side event the concepts and the flagship initiatives and the plans of the Global Challenges Action Network Partnership, which has a focus on youth empowerment for Agenda 2030. Let me start our introduction with the explanation why we've had here the music, an entry from the Seychelles for our Rio +20 Global Youth Music Contest. It was the best performing video from the African region in our competition in those times, and the title is Respect Life and the World Needs You. So we are here at the United Nations now that we have the Agenda 2030. We are looking how to implement these 17 global goals, which are somehow the blueprint and the compass to a more sustainable world. We know that everybody needs to be on board so that our ambitious plan can succeed, and we also recognize that we in particular need to have the young people on board. We have to find a way to the hearts and the minds of the young people so that they get an ownership of this new agenda and that they act in a way that supports the implementation of the goals. So the first challenge that we have to master and that we will also discuss here is how to raise awareness, how to get people inspired and knowledgeable about these topics. The second challenge is how do we find models for engagement that are meaningful and rewarding for these young people so that they have also, that we solve with these efforts also the big global and local challenges of youth unemployment and also some other economic empowerment challenges. And the third challenge that we have to master is how do we find the resources, where do we find the financial and technological and but other means to make this new massive large-scale youth engagement possible. So let's assume that in this video, if you go on the Facebook event page of today's side event, you will see it and then you can watch it, and you will see especially there is this one young lady here is very motivated and let's say that her name is Glosita, is a global citizen from the global south, and she is now very inspired, and she has, through this music and global competition, she has learned about climate change, how these global challenges affect her life, and she also learned that the global agenda, that the global community cares for her economic situation, for her societal situation as a young woman in society, with goals like the Sustainable Development Goals 5, gender equality. So she is inspired, wants to take action. Where and how can she take action? We don't want really millions of people coming here to the UN in New York to work here on these topics, but we want people to take action locally. We want to provide the ecosystem and the means that they can take meaningful and rewarding action in their local communities, in their cities, and that's the SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities. But if these young people and these cities and communities are left alone, they will not be able really to make their decisions in a way that, and actions in a way that will really contribute to these global goals. So we need to build the global supporting infrastructure, a combination of global and local institutional and technological infrastructure that builds an avenue for young people to get engaged and that these young people can also benefit from the global flows of knowledge, financial resources, social energy and everything. And here our Global Challenges Action Network GLOCHA comes in. And it's systemic innovation with several components, and today here we will focus on 4 topics. One element is this Global Challenges Youth Music Contest, which has been implemented for the Rio+20 conference very successfully, and Alex is with us from Youth Center China. They've been our partners. They know that this really works very, very well all over the world, and we will hear more about Alex's work and how it relates to our work later. We have developed concepts for Global Challenges Youth and ICT centers, where in partnership with local communities, city administrations, we create physical space, but also an institutional space for young people to get access to the internet, access to education, access to entrepreneurship, capacity building, and also access to renewable energy technologies and many other things. That's really a very important systemic element that's needed on the local level in every city, in every local community, that we have globally coordinated local action. So that's the Global Challenges Youth and ICT centers. And all these activities require financial resources. And so we have looked where are there the resources that we could tap into so that these structures can be created. These structures are all based on social entrepreneurship models, so they should be also income generating, but especially for this first setup phase, we need some kind of social venture capital, and the question is, where do we get it? And we see a big potential for this kind of ambitious efforts in the resources of the global wealth elite. These billionaires out there, they have resources beyond their need. It's really a systemic failure that our global economic and social systems allow such wealth accumulation which has no use to nobody. And so there are already billionaires recognizing that that's a challenge that they also have to address. And Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, they have introduced the Giving Pledge, where they convinced billionaires to commit to give back to society half of their wealth before their death. And but we don't see much of this money. So there are about 130 billionaires' families have signed this letter already, and if these amounts are summed up, it's already about $400 billion or even more. And we don't see this money flowing to this kind of activities that we are working here on youth empowerment, globally coordinated, transparent, multi-stakeholder partnerships. It's not really trickling down, or how is this called? So we said we have to come up with a Global Challenges Giving Pledge, where we, with the leadership of young men and women like Tim from the UNFCCC, Jungo, youth constituency in the climate change negotiations, that we approach these signatories of the Giving Pledge and ask them to channel resources to this kind of efforts. So this is the call for resources for youth climate action and youth Agenda 2030 action, which is the third element of the GLOCHA partnership. And this fits very well also with its implementation of SDG 10, reduction of inequalities. And the point is then, once we have the financial resources, if really one of these billionaires would say he or she is giving 100 million or 500 million to this kind of efforts, how to channel these resources to the local activities, to these small activities of young people on the ground who act as micro-social entrepreneurs and do follow with everyday decisions on resource use, on mobility or other things to these global goals. How do we reward these young people with these financial resources from the global level? And for this we have developed the Agenda 2030 marketplace, and this was a big topic that we've discussed with experts like Minna Asnama Horowitz from St. John's University, and also IAI president. And yeah, we are very proud of this, of you. And so the point is social entrepreneurship, really a globally coordinated institutional and technological infrastructure that identifies the SDGs impact of youth action on the ground and connects it with financial resources, also using the most advanced technologies like blockchain and what was the other? Yeah, digital social currencies. Yeah. So this is the fourth topic, and all together, the GLOCHA partnership, the GLOCHA Action Network, is an implementation of SDG 17, partnerships for the goals which mobilize knowledge, finance, technology, and other means for implementation of the SDG. And I have distributed here also graphical illustration of our strategy, how we build this multi-stakeholder partnership, what are the infrastructure elements that we build together in a global commons setting and global commons mind, but I will not go into this yet. Perhaps later you have it there, and also there's a link at the Facebook event page about this side event where you can download it, where you have also then all the links. But with this, I would start my introductory introductory statement and give the word to Professor Minna Aslama-Horowitz to say a few words what this youth engagement means from her perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just streaming live, so I have to post on Facebook. There we go. Now I'm ready. I'm going to talk about something a little bit more concrete. Miro gave you an overview of what we're doing. I'm going to showcase you one very specific way through which we sort of pilot ways in which we answer these three challenges that he mentioned in the beginning. And so I'm a professor at St. John's University as well as at the University of Helsinki in Finland, where I'm from. And I've attended with Miro and with some of my students some sessions here about SDGs, and what we hear is youth leadership, youth leadership, youth leadership. And the other thing we hear is, you know, younger generations of today are extremely great communicators. Huh? So there's a huge potential right there to, if we can engage them, to make these goals viral, if you like. They're also very tech savvy. I'm a digital migrant. I'm not going to tell you when I was born, but I just have to tell you that I touched the first computer for the first time when I was in middle school. So you can start to calculate how that goes. And for you young people, that might seem like, oh my goodness, was there a time before smartphones? But that said, one way we're approaching this is the music contest. Music, as we know, is one of those cultural products that can go viral in a second. You know the stars found from YouTube. Maybe one of the winners of the contest will be a mega star and an ambassador for the SDGs one time, or maybe we start with smaller steps, but that contest is one event that we hope will then create this ripple effect of people sharing, loving, listening across the borders. So that is why we've chosen music. It touches us, it connects us, probably in a very sort of basic and economic way also. That's the biggest global cultural product there is, and connect, emotional as well as sort of practical connector. The other thing we've done, and we're now piloting with my students, is students are very knowledgeable with factors that factor into all of these goals. And that is new communication technologies and ways to connect in a network manner, right? So my students at St. John's University have been looking at specifically goal 9 and 17 together. And they did research for a UNIDO workshop that took place a couple of weeks ago in Vienna on digital currencies, digital social currencies. Who knows what digital social currencies are? Who knows? He, of course, was at the workshop. Well, there we go. Yet, at the moment, digital social currencies and related technology, which is called blockchain, is probably the most evoked technology when we talk about the future of work. Because it's a way for all of us connect virtually without a central hub. So it's a decentralized way to transfer value. It can be sort of monetary value. Who has heard about Bitcoin? Bitcoin, okay. So Bitcoin uses blockchain technology, but there are all kinds of other ways you can transfer records, ownership, different kinds of things. You can create your own digital currency, any one of us. It's not that difficult. So think about, for instance, a project, a global project that internally can transfer value in that way without centralized banks or other centralized control mechanisms. My students study journalism, right, and media. So of course, very often we worry about, how would I say, funding of and support for independent communication in different contexts. And so blockchain technology, for instance, can support independent journalism and communication, all of that. So just those as examples. But as we could see in this room, it's a topic we actually know very little about, and it's been, embraced by technologists and people who focus on the future of work. And yet it's something that can actually help each and every one of these goals. So, back to the leadership. My students can grasp these kind of issues much better than I can, or faster at least. And they did research on how blockchain technologies and other social digital currencies have been used in development. And what we found out, there's no centralized hub to give us the information, but they started already to map these different kinds of ways development projects have utilized the currencies. And come Vienna, come to UNIDO workshop, they're there, next to the expert from Silicon Valley, next to the blockchain experts from Austria. And so they become de facto knowledge leaders in this field. And again, the resources were shared with my university and UNIDO in a way, of course, IAAI, Croatia. And so this was a very sort of cost-effective, a little way of showing a group of students, a group of young people, that they truly are knowledge leaders. And of course it has two effects. We actually created new knowledge and we shared it with 130 people in Vienna, 60,000 people online. We hear, I don't know how that's possible, but this is the UNIDO figure we heard, 60,000 people saw that online. Think about that. Another example of technology. And then, of course, my students, although they were a handful of students, now I have them teach a couple of classes for me, so they spread the word to their colleagues at St. John's that this is possible when we give them the floor and give them opportunity. And you can imagine that their commitment to the SDGs is now lifelong and everlasting. So just as an example of the kind of sort of also not only big events and big mobilization of resources, but also little things that we are actually experimenting in our organization, and we hope to sort of spread out and maybe even create a network of students who are interested in doing research and becoming experts in the SDGs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minna. So you have seen we have the engagement opportunities through music. We have wonderful examples how young people can be engaged through academic work, through students' research assignments. And a key point also related to this digital social currencies topic that has been highlighted is that we have to come to the point where youth action for the SDGs has a value. Because nowadays very often young people get engaged in these global topics and it's somehow we assume that's logical, that they are volunteers, they do it for free, but nobody is giving them the resources and sooner or later they burn out, but with this we lose their valuable contributions to these efforts. And if we have the system in place that we identify this value and reward it, then we have the young people on board and together we can really advance in building this better world. And one of the young leaders we love to work with is Timothy Damon. Please, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Miro. I think if everyone can hear me from sitting down, I'll remain seated for my presentation. So to follow right off of that segue, burnout is a very real challenge of young people who are in this space. You know, it's rare that someone such as myself has been engaged in the international youth climate space and specifically the UN climate negotiations for 5 years running now. A lot of young people I've seen after their first time engaging are burned out, or maybe they make it a second time, or they just decide that it's not a constructive space for them to engage. And the main barriers are, again, a lack of finance and resources. You know, everyone's volunteering, and while that altruism can achieve a lot, and you know, we could talk about ways that young people influence the Paris Agreement or the ways that they're taking action in their home countries, there's so much untapped potential if we had some more resources there. And in fact, it was a really good synergy meeting Miro a year ago at the ECOSOC Youth Forum, which just finished the past 2 days, because having just become focal point for the youth constituency to the climate negotiations, so being in the position of liaising between the bureaucracy of the UN and all of the young people around the world who want to feed into that process, put me in a place to say we need to do something to address these challenges. And that's both the finance piece, but also a structural piece. Because as much as there's a lot of power and energy in a global movement, you do need some structure to help facilitate that. And it's where youth in general have struggled a lot. And I think it would be true also of these other areas of the SDGs. So how do you facilitate this global level down to the local level? And to be clear, by structure, I do mean very much both top down and bottom up, especially the bottom up. But the bottom up needs somewhere to connect with. And we already do have some really good examples that we can build up. So to support these in Marrakesh, COP22, we did with Miro and Glocha a huge launch of this call for resource mobilization. He already mentioned, you know, wanting to target the Giving Pledge signatories, you know, target large grant-giving foundations as well, and use that to finance these ideas. But if you were here for the past 2 days, there was a lot of youth demanding money. Oh, give us money, we need money, give it to us. Well, then what are you going to do with it when you get it? Are you actually a credible, professional person who can utilize this money? The same when we talk about social entrepreneurship, not just anyone can wake up one morning and say, oh, I think I'll be a social entrepreneur. No, you need some serious, you know, business skills and management skills, capacity building for that. And the same is true for being a peer-to-peer educator for the SDGs or specifically climate change. So one of the things that we would do, you know, someone wrote me a really big check today. One of the first things that I would be doing is replicating a really powerful workshop in which I was fortunate to be a trainer toward the end of last year. It was organized by the Commonwealth and the SIDS Youth Ames Hub. So this was held in Mauritius for youth from throughout the Commonwealth and other SIDS countries, small island developing states. And they came together to get an intensive training on how to understand the international level of climate change diplomacy, how to engage with the UN level, but then also how could they be an effective advocate at the national level? What kinds of local projects could they do? How could they do campaigns? So I mean, while I was providing them the policy diplomacy side, they had someone there teaching them the journalism side. They had someone from the Climate Action Network International, who taught them campaigns. And how do you link all of these different, these three areas of sort of the policy advocacy, the media, and the direct action, mobilization, protests, all those various techniques into a unified theory of change? And the outcome that we got was all these young people were actually in a position to organize their own conference of youth just a couple months later from this training, which is, for those who don't know, each time that the UN has a conference of parties for the climate negotiations, the youth have a pre-conference, the Conference of Youth. And that started actually in the location where the conference was being held that year, but in the past couple years it's expanded to have over a dozen parallel conferences of youth, sort of local COPs, local COIs rather, and that really feeds into both what we were then doing at the UN level, taking inputs directly from them, but also gives them a chance to address the local context. So just very soon after this training, they were already sort of training the trainers. They became ambassadors who were then able to engage young people throughout their whole country to engage on these topics. So someone gave me some money, I would immediately be wanting to replicate this really good training model, already tested, and I'm sort of now on retainer as a trainer for them, so hopefully I'll actually be myself in the Seychelles later this year when they run a scaled up version of this. But why couldn't we run it everywhere else? Because while there's a lot of capacity for young people from the global north who are the ones who have the most ability to attend these meetings, that's not cutting it. And even in the global north, like, you walk a couple blocks from the UN and pick a young person, they maybe haven't even heard of anything of what we're talking about. So you then need that peer-to-peer education piece. And mentioning also the lack of representation within the youth space, the other big project I would launch with some funding would be another that we've already tried doing through Youngo, but the financing hasn't worked out to make it sustainable, perpetual, would be a fellowship program that brings youth specifically from the global south to engage with the Conference of Parties that happens each year. Because what we've seen is that even if you only attend once, it really is a life-changing opportunity, and it gives you a whole new perspective, whole new connections. And the way I would run it is we provide them the virtual online capacity building in advance for this, mixed multinationality youth delegation, and then they have a strategy to engage at the Conference of Parties, but then they have the key here is then they have a follow-up component, where we've reached them with that opportunity. What's then the strategy that they'll use to reach young people back where they're from? And so if you keep doing both these workshops and this fellowship program, and we could replicate or scale this up for all the SDGs, we should have some kind of permanent facility within the UN so that it's not just a 2-day youth forum like we had. That was another recommendation from yesterday as well. Can we build up some momentum for a permanent facility? I have colleagues in this room who are working on setting up some kinds of mechanisms like that. So getting that infrastructure in place and training these trainers, you're really then getting very measurable results of engagement events and impact. So that's really where the partnership with Glocha is so exciting, because you do need that infrastructure to handle money, to be credible, to get money, and not just be the whiny young person, oh, we have no resources, help us. It's like, no, we can deliver impact, and we do know what we're doing, and if there's something we're not strong enough in yet, well, then that's where the intergenerational mentorship comes in, which would be a component of all these programs as well, and of, I'll actually give a shout out to Dominique over there, who's working on, setting up a kind of intergenerational, mentorship, capacity, kind of building mechanism, so maybe you'll pitch that later in the discussion. But, no pressure. So, I think I've covered my key points there. I'm interested then to see where we want to go in the conversation. Happy to speak with you about it in Q&A or follow up afterwards. The structure that I'm putting in place is the Global Youth Development Institute. It's brand new. it had incubated for a long time, but again, the pieces, the synergies came together last year along with Glocha, and I would see that as really providing the structure that's missing within the youth climate space and doing education, capacity building, and replicate that for the SDGs. I'm not just a climate guy. I want to be all 17 goals guy. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Tim. Thanks for your leadership in the global climate talks, and also we are proud and happy to have you in the Glocha partnership as one of the leading partners. For those who are interested in this resource mobilization dimension and this call for resources, we are going to have a workshop at UN Women on Friday the 3rd between 1 and 3 o'clock. The title is Young Women and Men Challenging Inequality in the Context of Climate Change. You are kindly invited to contact me later so that I can tell you regarding registration. And with this, I would like to give the floor to Alex, wonderful global youth leader from China, from Youth Think Center China.
Thanks very much, Miro. And I've been working with Miro since I think around 5 years ago, since Rio Plus 20. So in China, we run youth center. So basically, we promote young people into different social topics. And currently, we are developing our big data platform for all these young leaders, not only in China but also worldwide, to learn about sustainable goals and take action online. So here are a few points I want to share. Is back to Rio Plus 20, like 5 years ago when we first time worked with Miro. That he talked with us about the concept that we can organize a music competition to let the general public to know about sustainable development and also climate change. We think it's such a cool idea. So in China, in half a year, we have our competition, and there's 100 of young singers and their teams to submit their works. And then we have our concert in China like to select 3 winners from China. And then we put all these 3 works into a CD and to have our like a show in Rio Plus 20. I think this is a very interesting process and project to link music and climate change and sustainable development together. So just now I'm thinking that well, we should have this is global music contest. I think there are 2 points. One thing is that we work on these social topics. We work on these projects. We probably like write a concept note, and then we have events, and then sometimes we talk with leaders. But somehow this is a really traditional way. Like 2 days ago, we have our celebrity from China who was just 16 in China, but he has 20 million fans. He's just a singer, but he didn't know about sustainable development goals before. We try very hard, we try very hard in China that, can we engage 1 million youth to know about sustainable development goals? But for him, it's very easy. We explain to him, and then he just share on social media. There is like 100,000 people retweet, and then there is a lot of top news on media that these guys somehow sometimes we have to using a more interesting way to let the general public know that there is something interesting. We have to package the work we have done that to show the people this is something really cool for you, especially for younger generation. The second thing I'm thinking is that we should think about some cross-sector cooperation. So when we work on climate change, we work on sustainable development goals. Can we think about that it's not just a civil society work, not only about UN work, but also we should work with all these stakeholders, like from UN, like civil society, governments, and also with entertainment, like singers, actors, and also like young people. So I think there are 2 points. I think when we think about the program here, is that one thing is that we should do something more interesting for general public. It's not our concern, but we should use how we tell the story today, how we engage it. The second thing is that we should promote cross-sector cooperation to engage all the stakeholders. The last point is that, I mean, when we talk about mobilized resources, I think the first thing we come into mind is that we should think about the person we work. So in the past 5 years, we have worked with Miro and also his team in climate change process, in COP, I think since COP 20 to like in different countries, and also in Morocco last year. I think Miro has a great team, and also he has a really great commitment to the topics here. So I think when we talk about mobilize money and also more resources, the first thing we should think about is that we should find some great partners, like great people to work with, like Miro. And then we should have a really good team. This human resources should be the foundation of all the resources. And this is we can make sure that we can have progress. And then we should make sure that the program we're running are sustainable themselves. And then since we are sustainable, and then we can promote sustainable development, and then we can achieve sustainable development goals. If we are not sustainable enough, but for our teams, somehow I think it's a big joke that we are trying to help others if we cannot have a good team. So this is what I want to share with you, and also like for this year we are really looking forward to working with Miro and also all the partners from different countries to make sure that Global Music Contacts will be a big success, and we will have our big festival in Bonn in COP 23 in Germany. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alex. It's really so wonderful to have you and your millions of young Chinese youth on board for the Agenda 20 and especially also for the Global Challengers Youth Music Contest. Our plan is we will have this year again the Global Challengers Youth Music Contest focusing on climate change and Agenda 2030. And it's easy to do the online competition, but our aim, which is also related to resource mobilization, is to do a very, very big thing and to have then in November during COP23 in Bonn a cross-media event, a global cross-media event with a TV show which is globally broadcasted and that this will really reach every person, every global citizen in its living room with entertaining music, wonderful, inspiring youth narratives around these global challenges and climate action. And this, if we succeed with this, we think we need about 300,000 euros for this. We've applied now for this also with the KR Foundation. And we think that if we succeed to do this, then we will also get the philanthropists on board, because philanthropists want to have visibility. And if we can tell them they are reaching with their pledge tens or hundreds of millions of people, then our chances to succeed are much better. And with this, I would like to give the floor also to Nahum from Ethiopia. He is working in the field of climate change-related entrepreneurship in the Regional Environmental Center of the University of Addis Ababa. And we are happy to have you here with us. Please join us here and tell us a little bit about your work.
Okay.
Come to.
Okay. That's better.
Great.
So that you see also we have a global reach. We have America, Europe, China, Asia, Africa. Music and youth topics connect the world.
Hello everyone. I'm Nahum from Ethiopia. I would like to apologize for my late arrival today. Sorry. I'm working in Addis Ababa University on a project called Horn of African Regional Environment Center, and I'm running a project on a youth initiative on climate change. So just to talk a little bit about the global landscape of the climate change and the youth, there have been a lot of pressures and a lot of momentum towards Paris, because the big thing for the young people, for Africa, and for everyone was like to have a binding agreement that everyone will be satisfied to implement, and at the end of the day, we'll have a result that can cut the emissions and achieve the goal for to reduce the average rise of temperature by 2 degrees centigrade. Now, after Paris Agreement, we have an agreement, then we have to go to implementation. And the young people should be part of this implementation. So many times we have been advocating for so many issues on climate change. But now, once we have the Paris Agreement, once we have the SDG goals, and also for Africa we have the Agenda 2030. Now it's time for implementation. And we believe that action speaks. So we planned a project which is called Climate Innovation and Mainstreaming Environmental Sustainability in the Horn of Africa. So this project is planned to work as a pilot project in 6 universities of Horn of African countries. And the main ambition is to set up an innovation hub in each 6 universities, so that students from those universities can apply and can have a project, a kind of business that will contribute to the climate response, so that we will help them to get finances, that these projects, these business ideas will be developed into a business in the future. For Africa, the biggest challenge, the biggest poverty is energy. And now we are on a critical time that we can use this climate change issue as an opportunity, because there is a big advocacy for renewable energy. There is a big support for renewable energy. And Africa should be part of this innovation. So our ultimate goal is like to mobilize a large crowd of youth to be part of this innovation on renewable energies, on waste management, on recycling, and on so many untapped businesses that can really have an impact on the climate response. So now we are working with African Development Bank, and we are on process to work with African Renewable Energy Institute. But this really doesn't have to be restricted to the Horn of Africa region, or doesn't have to be restricted in Africa. Climate change is a global issue, and the youth participation is demanded from all over the world. And we're very happy to work with Miro, since he has like the reach to like the global youth from different parts of the world. And we're really looking to work with other youth groups from different regions to come up with a global action that unites all of us. Now, the thing about how a resource mobilization is, one thing that we should work on is, so many youth have very good ideas, very good action plans, action ideas, but when it comes to proposal, bankable proposals, we fail to put the measurable impacts, outputs, outcomes, and like that. So it will be very difficult for us to mobilize a resource, because funding agencies or potential donors have to see it like in a coherent manner so that they will fund a project. It's not about like we pitch in a conferences, we say we have these ideas and that. It should be in a paper. It should be in a good way that we also have to know specifically whom we are going to impact. What are our outputs? and specifically what number of use, what number of technologies, or what number of impacts are we intending to do on our projects. So the users should really work on like putting a measurable indicators and developing a very good proposals for their ideas. And we are happy to work with Glocha to support this and looking forward to it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think these approaches that you mentioned, these are really the future, because it's not only about official development assistance or philanthropy or so, but really business cases that are implementable in this transition to renewable energies. There is a very strong economic argument, and there is really profit potential in it. And if we build these global support structures that build also the trust and somehow reduce the risk for investors and for those buying the certified emission reductions, and so then this market will boom over the next years. There are really trillions of dollars in this transition to renewable energy market. And we have presented at the last year's Science, Technology and Innovation Forum for the Agenda 2030 a sustainable energy entrepreneurship program for young people that would be implemented in the context of Glocha and with these global challenges used at ICT centers as local entry points. And we are proud to have you on board. And with this, I would open up the floor for discussions. Please.
My name is Keon DeFranco. I'm here with Sustain Us. So I think this has been a fascinating conversation. So in 2012, I was really lucky to be part of a great technology incubator called Techstars. I was able to go to the New York version of that, and so I'm not sure if you are familiar with that model, but the concept, they have these all over the world, is, they pick 12 companies, they give them up to $100,000 in funding. It is fundable businesses. They do take 7% of your company moving forward, but the resources they give you are really unparalleled. It's 100 days in the program. It ends with a demo day for us. We were able to pitch to 800 investors in one single room. That's because it spent years creating